What's up, everyone? My name is Philip Hensler,
And I'm Adam Richmond.
and we're your co-hosts for today's PATS Technology Committee podcast. We started this podcast to initiate a conversation with the members of the athletic training community in Pennsylvania in the hopes that we can engage and foster relationships in the state, explore emerging settings, and provide a unique perspective into the day in the life of an athletic trainer. Today, we have two very special guests for the PATS podcast. Co-hosts Adam Richmond and Philip Hensler are taking this time. We're going to sit down and talk a little bit about ourselves and hopefully bring some good athletic training topics to the table and get everyone discussing current trends and what the future holds. So without further ado, Adam, how are you today?
Phil, great. I'm very good. Just kind of hanging out today. It's summertime, so I'm on a 10-month contract, which is awesome at Dickinson. And I completed my contract in May, at the end of May, and so June and July is all mine. I get to do whatever I want, pretty much on a daily basis, which is really nice. I actually have two kiddos running around. Only one of them is mine, by the way, but my Mason has a friend over, so I'm kind of sitting in the corner of my house, and I have a window on both sides, and every once in a while I just kind of see them running around and like squirting each other with water guns. So if I get kind of distracted, that's probably what it is. But how about
That's
you,
awesome.
Phil?
So you have a Mason as well. My
Yeah.
youngest is Mason. He's about 1.5. My oldest is a Parker, and he turns 5 next month.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm working for a industrial sports medicine company, Briotics, and I'm contracted here in the North Hills of Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh, doing work on we can call it a manufacturing line. I work with the line workers, the distribution team, and the truck drivers.
Nice.
So that's my 2 days a week, and then the rest of it. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I run a little photography company, and that's kind of how we got started with the podcast.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to your kids since we started on that. So that's funny. How do you spell Mason? You spell it different, right?
We spell it with an I. It's
With an I.
it's my wife's grandmother's maiden name, and
cool.
it was really cool that when Mason was actually born, he's got the blue eyes and the thin lips. He looks exactly like his great grandmother. So it was kind of a cool little treat when everything kind of came together.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. Yeah, my Mason is traditional MASON.
With the O.
Yeah, I don't know if you can call that traditional. I'm not sure if Mason's a traditional name yet or not. It seems like it's more and more common, but that's funny. My nephew is also Parker, which is super cool. But my Mason is 8 years old, almost 9, going to be 9 in September. And going into 3rd grade. So he's very self-sufficient. He wipes his own butt. He pretty much feeds himself. Really, I'm just here in case of emergencies, to be honest with you.
There you go.
But no, the other thing, can you talk a little bit more about your role? So would you consider yourself industrial setting at the job that you're at with athletic training?
I am a industrial sports medicine practitioner. The company I work for is pretty much nationwide. They have contracts with power companies, food manufacturing, things like that. So we refer to our clients as industrial athletes, and that's really what they are. They are an industrial athlete, and a lot of what we treat is the same thing that we would treat with our athletes in the athletic training room. So your overuse, your traumatic crush injuries, your ankle sprains. But the really cool thing is in the setting I'm at, I can treat them for what they do at home. So playing around with their kids, spraying their knee, spraying their ankle, doing a construction project. Maybe they built a deck and got hurt over the weekend. They can come in, see me, and I can work with them on their work time and get them healthy so that they're not going to get injured at work. And it's a really fulfilling setting. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And so you're pretty much traditional athletic training though, like, right? Like, so you're assessing, you're evaluating, and you're rehabbing, like the whole spectrum.
There's a little caveat, because when you get hurt at work, you have to follow the OSHA guidelines, which are mainly, so if you get hurt on the job, you, as a industrial sports medicine professional, I have to follow the OSHA first aid requirements. If I don't follow those, then it becomes a recordable injury, and then a whole other cascade of events has to happen. But if we can keep it in the first aid, then we don't have to go down the OSHA route. Whereas if they got hurt at home, then I function exactly like you said, like a regular athletic trainer with an overseeing physician and SOP.
That's cool. That's cool. What do your hours look like?
They're tiny. There's just one facility in the area, so I'm 2 hours a day, 2 days a week
Okay.
for right now with them, and it's been really cool because I get to stay at home with the kids most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, you already talked about your other side hustles and main hustles, I guess you would actually call
Main
yours.
hustle right now, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of new.
Yeah, yeah. You want to talk a little bit about more about that and what you're doing? Any cool projects you got going on?
So I before everything happened, I had a really cool mini session kind of theme shoot in the works. It was all Star Wars themed, lightsabers, battles. We did the demo shoot in the middle of the woods. We had to hike in all the gear, the fog machine, everything was all battery powered, and we had a blast. I had my nephews out, my kids out, and yeah,
Yeah.
lightsaber battles in the woods of Penn Hills.
I saw some of those pictures. Those were pretty cool. That was really cool. You do a really good job with that stuff. How did
Thank
you get
you.
into photography?
So I got into it when I was really young. My uncle was a videographer for a news station, and got me my first camera and taught me kind of how to shoot. And then through high school and college, kind of developed it. Shot for the Duquesne Duke when I was at Duquesne,
Okay.
and used the extra money to pay for books and lab fees. And then after college, it kind of went away. I focused on athletic training, did some fun stuff, got into some trouble, and then got back into it when Parker was born.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of transitions well. I'm curious, how did you get into athletic training? What was, obviously you had the passion for
Yeah.
photography and you have other passions, but what about athletic training, called you and was like, hey, this is for me.
So I blame getting into athletic training on my high school athletic trainer Matt Tinkey, and he listens to the podcast hopefully, and he's gonna kind of hate me for this, but he got me into it. When I was at Vincentian playing some sports, not very well. I was hurt a couple times. I was thinking about going into medicine, and he got me shadowing, and kind of caught the bug, and I liked it. And Duquesne had a good program, so going from that Vincentian Academy to Duquesne worked out really well. And yeah, the rest was history. I had so much fun
Nice.
with it. I always like just the social, not the social aspect of it, but just being around people that want to get better, and the things that you can do with somebody that's willing to be involved in their care. You can just do so much more, which is really fun.
That is cool. And now, are you still part of the Bear Essentials crew? I know I've seen a lot of pictures on social media with you there. Do
Yep.
you still help out with that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're completely shut down right now. Our first event might not be till September, and that one's even kind of touch and go right now. We're going to see what happens with the virus and everything. But still traveling with them. I used to do more. We used to do the big long events like USA Nationals and USA Open. But I'm doing more of the regional stuff now with the kids, so I'm not away from home as often
Yeah, for
or for
sure.
as long.
For sure. I mean, that stuff looks really cool. I've seen some pictures of you on social media. At
It
some of
gets
the
pretty gnarly.
yeah,
Our back outside of college, when I first started working with Trish, I was doing a lot of the action sports stuff, the
that's the stuff that
BMX, the
yeah.
skateboarding, the FMX, which is absolutely insane. I want to see somebody try to throw a 250-pound bike over their head, gapping 100 foot at 60 miles an hour. It is insane what those guys can do with a motorcycle, um, and they pay for it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
punishing, and the trauma that you see, and the injuries that you deal with, they were career shaping that early on in my career.
Yeah, I'm super curious about that. That was something I've always been into, like snowboarding and BMX and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
as I got out of college as well, I was always interested in maybe getting into that. Just never understood or knew how to get my foot in the door. So super jealous that you got to do that. Any really like anything you could like share, any cool stories or like anything that you want to talk about there? Because like I said, I think that's just awesome. Like, what's some of the coolest stuff you've seen?
So the coolest stuff I got to see, I was invited to the inaugural season of the Winter Dew Tour, and
That's
got
awesome.
to travel to some really cool snow resorts. My favorite one was
Phil, I'm so
Breckenridge.
jealous. That's literally
I
my
spent
life. That's awesome.
I spent a week in Breckenridge, where my commute to work was by snowboard. We'd ride the
Uh,
gondola up to the top, and we snowboard down to the venue, and it was cold. I remember
yeah.
we were doing a photo shoot one night. I think it was like midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning. It got down to -18. And if
Yeah.
you've ever wondered at what temperature does soda freeze, and it's -18, because I had a whole case of Mountain Dew behind me just explode
No
in the
way.
warming tent. Yeah, it was snowing Mountain Dew for like an hour. It
Right.
just pop, pop, pop. Yeah,
Welcome to the Dew Tour.
exactly.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, like I said, that was something I've always been interested in, and wish I could have got in. I think I might be a
You
little too
still
old.
can.
Yeah.
The X Games has a, I don't want to say an internship program, but they have a hierarchy where you go up, you can go volunteer, and then continue on from there. Dew Tour, I don't travel with them anymore, but there's kind of the same thing. They take resumes and that, and Barry Centrals is another one of the bigger companies that does more of the action sports, and then
Yeah.
she does stuff with USA Taekwondo and AAU
Yeah.
a lot as well.
No, yeah, and I mean, do you mind talking about that company at all? Because I find like that's pretty cool. Is that
Barry
something you'd want
Centrals,
to talk about?
yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, I
Barry,
just I've seen
yeah.
some stuff
So
on her. Again, I follow you guys on social media, and obviously talking to you and some of your experiences, it just seems really cool. And that's not a it's not a traditional setting, right? Like it is, but
no,
it's
absolutely
not.
not.
The setup isn't, and I don't think I'm really an advocate for athletic trainers to get outside of that traditional setting and own their own business. Like
Yep.
I think that's really valuable, and to hear how she did it or anything about that, I think would be great for the listeners.
Yeah. So she started with about, I think it was about 20, 25 years ago at this point. And her goal is to provide low cost or no cost athletic training services to grassroots sporting events. So a lot of the events that we do, we either do for travel expenses for our athletic trainers, or some kind of trade-off for gear or anything like that, anything that the event can do, because these events, they're very extreme, not to overuse the word, but these athletes need the help, and especially at the grassroots level. So we use our big events, our big headliner events, to help fund the rest of the year for the smaller events. And not only do we get to go and experience these cool events, but we get teamed up with practitioners from all over the country, and we have learning opportunities while we're there. Every morning we do a debriefing from the day before, and then we tackle a topic, whether it's spine boarding, equipment removal, advanced airway techniques. We did Epstein Barr, not Epstein Barr, Epsilon Barr. So T-wave dysfunction. We had an
Oh, okay,
athlete that
yeah,
got sick once during a major competition, and that was the ending factor. So the next day we had a whole, our ER physician had a whole kind of talk on what we looked out for, what we did right, what we possibly could have done better, and then what the ultimate follow-up care is going to be for that athlete and their prognosis in the sport. So every event you go to, you're going to learn something new. You're going to work with different practitioners everywhere from uh, nurses to PTs, athletic trainers, ER physicians, chiropractors, and the big main take home is we don't put our degrees on our name tags.
okay,
So it doesn't matter who you see as part of the team. We all work together to provide the best care that we can for that athlete. So no one takes claim of the athlete. No one says, "Oh, this treatment's better than that one." We all work as a team, and really that true sports medicine team happens. And I've never seen it deployed better than it is there.
yeah. No, that seems like a really cool experience. Like I said, one, you're at these events that are just again outside the box,
Hmm.
and then to have that kind of interaction with other healthcare professionals and on that level, and then the educational piece on top of that, I just like that sounds super cool. And again, like I said before, like just seeing some of the pictures of you and some of the other team members there and the different events is, I said, very jealous. That seems like an awesome opportunity.
Yep. And with someone has a fear of heights, getting up at the start box 30 foot up, where the only way down is like a 15-foot gap onto a dirt pile, like that's some crazy stuff. Like
Absolutely.
even to be the athletic trainer there, I remember Mount Snow, it was double black diamonds just to get down to the start block, where I was stationed. And then I had a crew of 4 or 5 athletic trainers stationed around the course. And like once you set in, you're pretty much there for the day. So you got
Okay.
to have all your stuff. If you respond, everyone rotates down, and then you cycle back up to the top and get in line and just kind of keep working down the
Oh,
hill,
yeah. No,
because
that makes sense.
gravity pulls you down. You can't really get back up on these
Yeah.
courses sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a hell of a hike. Have you ever had to spine board somebody on snow, ice, anything
Multiple
like that?
times,
Yeah.
multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah. Some
Um,
unique challenges there, I'm sure. Is there
so,
a specific technique to that or anything?
just watch out for gravity. Gravity is
Mm-hmm.
going to bring everything downhill. So when you're spine boarding, you just have to take that into account. Luckily, the courses are normally groomed.
Mm-hmm.
Half pipes aren't crazy steep. Now, if they're laying like sideways, like perpendicular to the half pipe, yeah, trying to get them to roll and not continue to roll, that's an issue. But if they're like up and down, it would be the same as I guess you could say like a bike event or in a foam pit.
Yeah.
Same kind of situations there.
You were talking about collaboration with other healthcare workers. How about like ski patrol? Was there a lot of interaction with them? Obviously, like they're probably
Yep,
more adapted to those situations and have the ability to then transport after the boarding has happened.
exactly. So we work really closely with our skilled professionals. So, and for the snow events, obviously we have our ski patrol on site. We may be running the medical, but whenever there's a trauma that requires transport, we hand everything over to them, and we are there to assist them, because they're the ones that
Yep.
are going to be they spine board on snow more often than we do. They're the ones that know their equipment, know how to package an athlete to get them off the mountain safely, and ultimately they're the ones that that need to be in control. So we'll pass control on to them. We'll assist them in any way we can. And this is after a lot of planning meetings, sitting down with them, talking about what they need from us, what we need from them. It's the communication part of it's very important.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's just like, football, like you have to
Hmm.
bring the, ambulance crew in and make sure you have that communication. You go over your emergency action plan and you just, the more
Absolutely.
practice you have, the better you're going to be at it.
Yep.
And the more communication you have with everybody involved, you don't want anything to go awry on that day of,
Yep.
right?
Nothing different than your Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. Yeah. Minus the several degree slope and some ice and snow and cold temperaters, but
You haven't
other's
been.
exactly
I was
the
gonna say,
same.
it sounds like you haven't been to Western Pennsylvania in a while. It gets cold.
Yeah, no, it gets cold here. It gets cold here too. But no, yeah. So Phil,
So how about
outside of
you?
yeah, how about me? What do you want
How
to know?
about you? So, you have a fun little side hustle I've been seeing pop up on Instagram lately.
Yeah,
Tell us a little
yeah,
bit about that.
yeah. So traditionally, obviously, my main hustle is athletic training. So I work at Dickinson College. It's a small D3 school here in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Have pretty competitive sports for D3, but at some point in my career, so this is what I always say is I hate to do my job, right? So I hate doing athletic training because that means if I'm doing my job, somebody is not playing the sport that they love, right? So somebody got injured. Now I have my athletic trainer hat on and I have to rehab them, and I have to, they're probably not going to be participating. If they are participating, they're not participating at full level, 100% ready to go. So at some point in my career early on, I realized that putting more time into the preventative side of things paid off dividends, and
Mhm.
exponentially I saw, less and less injuries. So I took it upon myself to figure out how do I prevent these injuries. Like I was just seeing way too much. Like, we used to have so many ACL injuries. I mean, so my earlier in my career, I used to work with football and lacrosse, men's lacrosse, well, men's and women's lacrosse, but we would see so many ACL injuries. And I was like, this just isn't normal, right? So
Mhm.
I dug in, and I taught myself strength conditioning. I got a certification through the NASM. I have my performance enhancement specialist certification. That's kind of
Nice.
where I got started in that, and then just reading blogs and just learning everything about sports performance, and it became a passion. So everything, bioenergetics, biomechanics, nutrition, recovery. Like I found the more and more I educated myself on topics outside of just athletic training, and the more I can involve those into my model as an athletic trainer, the less injuries I saw and the less I actually had to do my athletic training job, right? Like, so I still love to rehab injuries. I still love working with athletes. Like that is my primary role, and that, we're never going to be able to prevent all injuries. But the more work I put in the off season, and teaching these kids how to move really well, how to, get strong in good positions, how to sprint with really good technique.
Mhm.
So all these, just traditional, fundamental strength conditioning principles I found were really successful at preventing injuries and the less I had to do. So going back to your original question of the side hustle, so over the years, I've always had clients here and there that just kind of, I would have one or two, and in the summer times I would always work with high school kids. But with the time off here, and not having as much responsibility through my primary role, I really dove into trying to develop an online training platform. So richmondtrainingsystems.com, if anybody wants to check it out. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. It's meant to be for athletes and for adult athletes, right? So anybody that identifies as some type of athlete, I'm here to help you train. So my model is, again, biomechanics, bioenergetics, nutrition, load management,
Okay.
recovery, and mental health. So I try to know a little bit, or at least enough, to try to help guide you through any of those buckets, is basically how I call it. And that kind of really is a whole picture of what an athlete to me should look like, and how to manage them. So yeah, so I've been putting a lot of effort into that, trying to get some clients.
So what do you see as one of the biggest limiting factor for your athletes?
Biggest limiting factors in performance or injury?
Yeah, in performance.
In performance. So again, I'm at the D3 level. So and so I used to work with football and men's lacrosse. Let's stick with those two as an example. So you have the football athletes, right, that have been in the weight room their whole life. Like that's
Mhm.
just the mentality of football, is you're in the weight room and you just work your ass off. With those athletes, I honestly, I think their limiting factor is the weight room probably did more harm than good. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so if you just load the body up with a lot of weight, like let's use a back squat for an example. If you just load as much weight on the bar as possible and have um no regard for form or technique, you're going to lock yourself into some really bad patterns and actually limit your range of motion. So, when people are like, oh, my hips are super tight, I can't touch my toes, stuff like that. Well, when you're in this giant anterior pelvic tilt and have this giant lumbar lordosis, because that's the strategy you've used to stabilize your spine, because you put 500 pounds on your back all the time, and just effort, just go deeper, and go farther, and lift more. I think that locks them up, and
Yeah.
predisposes them to injury for sure. And then the other side of it, I think with my athletes, especially female athletes, and lacrosse as well. Lacrosse isn't too bad. Like a lot of them have been exposed to the weight room, but not enough. It's not every athlete that I get has been in the weight room before. So not
Okay.
having any tissue tolerance built up for weight training, like I mean the research is out. Like just good solid weight training alone does prevent injuries. Like I think I can confidently say that, and have evidence to back that up. So just having some exposure to that, and being prepared to come into a college season and a college setting, I feel like sometimes that's limiting, and they just haven't been exposed to good training early enough in their life. They've just, specialized in their
Yeah.
sport and never actually trained, more general patterns. They become too specific too quick.
So see, that's interesting. We with Barry Centrals are with our elite athletes, we almost train them into some of those dysfunctions. So if you think of someone your size, you're what, 5'6", 5'8", our
I'd like to say I'm
BMXers,
6 foot.
6 foot.
I might not be anymore, but my driver's license says 6 foot, Phil.
It's just funny because I've never actually met you in person.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I'm 6 foot.
6 foot. All right. So
6 foot,
imagine you're
buck
6 foot,
75.
$175 riding a BMX bike because
Mhm.
you're a freestyle BMXer. If you don't have that rounded over and that posterior pelvic tilt, you're not going to be able to position yourself on your bike for your backflip. So if me as an athletic trainer or a personal trainer working these athletes out, we're talking, okay, we have to correct the mirror muscles, stretch the tight muscles, strengthen the weak overused muscles, and um, just you can't do that with our pro BMXers because then we're going to put them in a position now they can't get into their stance and they're not going to be able to pull like they used to. So
Yep.
that's a really cool, like that's a really neat dichotomy that athletic training allows us to do, in my opinion.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the research is still out on, does posture matter, right? Like a lot of people are talking about like posture isn't indicative of pain. And I can agree with that. But at the same time, posture does matter. Your movement patterns matter. Your
Yep.
available range of motion matters. So like I look at it from a movement variability lens, where if you have variability at the joints, then you're not taking the same path, right? So if you don't have variability, your body's going to take the path of least resistance, and you're going to
Hmm.
overuse that path, right? Like that's your only strategy. If I can give you more variability, I can give you more joint range of motion, then you have more options, and you don't have to run down that same. I always talk about like a deer path, right? Like you can see in the woods where the deer just go back and forth, right? You don't want to
Yep.
wear a deer path down in your joints, right? And I think that's what we do. We lose our variability and we don't have options available to us. So we use the same strategy over and over again. And then that's when eventually tissue damage or pain, or however we want to talk about pain, because that's a whole nother
Whole
podcast that we
nother.
kind of already
Yep.
touched on once, but there's still more out there on that.
We could go on forever with that. Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Finding the um yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So that's what I'm passionate about. Not just athletic training. And I honestly, I'm not upset. Like athletic training is I love it. It is who I am. But I get annoyed sometimes when people talk about we shouldn't call ourselves trainers. We're not trainers. Like, and we advocate that we're like better than trainers, and that I don't think is the right mindset either, because I know some really, really, really smart personal trainers that have, some of them don't even have a bachelor's degree, but they've taken it upon themselves to go out and learn their craft and know just as much science and math and everything
Yep.
else that the people that have these degrees do. Like I'm very anti degree certification, kind of like you were saying earlier, right? Like we're all just under that healthcare umbrella, and
Hmm.
I don't think we need to have these buckets where it's PT versus AT versus MD versus OT.
Yep.
Like if you understand the inflammatory response, I think that's one. Like that's like, you need to know that. You need to know tissue healing times. But beyond that, there's so many 3-letter acronyms out there and certifications and things that you can do to understand the body and to help people. And I think if you really just want to help people, then I don't care what certification you have. I don't care what your job title is. Like, just help people, but stay in your scope, right? Like don't do anything
Right.
illegal. Like if you don't have a license to touch people, don't touch people, right? Like, and I'm not saying inappropriately touch people. That's not what I meant, Phil. But you know what I mean? Manual therapy,
Yeah.
right? Like if you don't
Yep.
have if you can't do a hands-on assessment, like don't do that. But there's other ways to do movement screens. There's other ways to test range of motion that don't require you to touch people. And there's a lot of really good active techniques out there that don't require manual therapy to recapture these ranges of motion, to help people move better, to get them out of pain. And again, I get frustrated when we advocate ourselves athletic trainers and we're so much better than personal trainers. And again, yes, we have more help, we have more education. We do have a license to provide health care and to treat people in pain, which is definitely different than personal training. But I don't think it's the right vibe or the right message to be saying that we're better than them, or at least that's the vibe I pick up whenever that conversation happens.
I think the focus needs to be on the athlete and the end goal. What specialty, what subspecialty is going to provide the most beneficial care for the athlete for this specific case for that specific athlete, and honestly, if it's sending them over to the trainer to work on plyometric landing, to work on transitioning from the stance to the explosion phase, can me, Philip Hensler, athletic trainer, do that better than the strength and conditioning coach? Probably not.
Right.
I mean, I have my PES. My background's more emergency medicine,
Mhm.
so I have the letter, but in my opinion, that letter, I don't utilize it as much as someone else like yourself that's working with individual clients on a daily or weekly basis. So why would I do that when I can push it on to someone else who can do it better? And then I get that athlete back 10 times faster, 10 times better. And now I can push them through more of the transition phase and then get them back cleared with the physician. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the role of an athletic trainer is that organizer of care.
And you bring up a good topic there, right? Like the emergency care piece, right? And that's something else that sets us up differently than other healthcare professions, right? Like PTs, docs, even a little bit. I mean, depending, what setting they're in, but they don't get the sideline emergency care education
Right.
like athletic trainers do. So that definitely is something that sets us apart from other professions. And some, I think that's a something that ATA has kind of been talking about it, or maybe it's the BOC. I'm not sure which one, but them having more specialty routes within athletic training,
Hmm.
right? And I think I think that's a great idea. I don't know, I don't have the answers of how to do that, but like I obviously know the emergency care piece of it, but that isn't my specialty. I'm probably the opposite of you then, Phil, right? Like
Yep.
I'm on the sidelines and obviously like I stay up to date on that, but that's not my passion. Like I do it because it's part of the job, but my passion is the rehab, the strength conditioning, the
Yep.
preventative stuff. And I think that's okay, right? I think we should all have our passions and our expertise. And then if we can all come together and share those ideas and just make
Absolutely.
everybody better, right? But yeah, I think
Yep.
that's a good point to make there.
I like how you hit on the share. I had the opportunity when I was working with UPMC to develop a on ice spine program with one of the local sports teams, and the goal was initially to work with our local EMS to develop the ice hockey protocols that we used, and then disseminated in within our staff. And the program, I never thought it would take off as quick as it did. It went from a concept that we were going to do just for EMS, just to introduce them to athletic trainers and work with them, to I think this year I'm no longer with them, but I believe this year they taught the program to four of the local university athletic training groups
Oh, that's
within the
awesome.
area. So they're taking that information that the committee put together, the program that was developed by the committee, and then they've been sharing it all over Western Pennsylvania into Ohio. And I think we've even done stuff at the college level with like people from West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, New York, and it was a really cool event. It was a really cool program. I'm glad to see that it's still going, because the sharing of the information, I think, is the most important part.
Yep.
Because like you said, we have a lot of just different subspecialties that we enjoy, and I'm never going to be an expert on strength and conditioning. I know that, but that doesn't mean somebody else isn't. I could take something from there, incorporate it in my practice, and then when I hit a roadblock, let's refer out to that practitioner that can. And now we've just expanded our sports medicine team one more person and just made that team that much stronger, that much more diverse, and that much more effective for our
Absolutely.
athletes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think the sharing of knowledge is what it's all about, and then being open minded to other people,
Yeah.
and having, it's great that you share your expertise, but you need to be open minded to other people's expertise, because obviously everybody has something that you can take away. Um, yeah, I thought I had another thought there with that, but now I lost it, Phil. Jeez,
Happens.
it happens. But yeah, yeah. What else you
So
got?
how'd you get into athletic training?
Good question. Good question. So I grew up in Juniata County. I went to East Juniata High School, which is in the middle of nowhere of Pennsylvania. So you got Philly and you got Pittsburgh. I'm like right in the middle, like
All
nothing
right.
else there.
No,
So
there's not.
I had a an assignment, and I think it was my junior year, maybe my senior year. I don't remember specifics, but we had to pick a job, right? Like, what do you want to do with your life? And my cousin had just enrolled in Lock Haven University, and was going for athletic training. I was like, I don't really know anything about this. We didn't even have an athletic trainer at the time in my high school, so
Hmm.
I honestly had no idea what athletic training even was. And so I started doing some research and writing this paper on it. And again, it was like either I think I want to say it was my junior year. It had to be junior year. Um, and yeah, I just kind of found those. I was like, perfect. Like I was smart enough that I could pretty much, um, you know, if I wanted to be in healthcare, like I could kind of pick, PAPT. Like I wasn't worried about grades or anything like that. And I just fell in love with the aspect of still working as with athletes, right? Like I grew up playing
Hmm.
sports. I played soccer. I wrestled. I played baseball earlier on, but not, not later in high school. Probably could have played in college if I really had pursued it. Again, can't coming from the middle of nowhere. I didn't know how to get recruited, right? So like I remember growing up and thinking if I was good enough, the colleges just call you, right? They find out about you and they give you a call and say, Adam, you need to come play soccer for us, right? But that's obviously not how it works. You
Right.
actually have to like send letters and videos and do all that, which I did none of. So obviously didn't get recruited. And I was a little burnt out at that time. I played a lot of soccer growing up, like year round and stuff. So just decided to do athletic training, and I thought, this would be good. So I went to Lock Haven University. I have a bachelor's in health
Nice.
science, with a concentration on athletic training. And then after that, I went on and did a year at East Stroudsburg, 13-month accelerated program, and got my master's in athletic training as well. And then I started working at Dickinson right after that and have been here
Okay.
ever since. So not a lot of different jobs, but again, I've fallen in love with Dickinson College. It's a great little school. Has the athletes are super committed to not only academics but also their sport. So it's not elite athletes, but it's pretty dang close. And
Okay.
again, they treat it that way, which is great to work with athletes that really have the desire to put work in and put the effort in and be the masters at their craft. And that's honestly how I got into the strength conditioning piece too. And I know I kind of already went down this rabbit hole, but being at a D3 school, like you talked about referring out, and actually that's now it's all coming full circle. That's what I was going to talk about there a second ago. You know, being able to have the knowledge to know when you don't know and to refer out,
Hmm.
right? And I unfortunately just didn't have any place to refer out to, being in, again, Carlisle's not a really big area, so not a lot of referrals. We don't have a strength conditioning coach. We don't have a nutritionist. So it's not like D1 where, you only have to wear one hat and then you can, refer to somebody else
Yep.
that has that expertise. I got really frustrated and decided that if I was going to do this right, I needed to be able to wear all the hats, because
Hmm.
I didn't have anybody to refer to. So yeah, that's kind of coming full circle there, knowing when you don't know, and if you don't know, go figure it out.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the coolest things about athletic trainers. We have the skill set to be able to pick up the information on stuff that we don't know, figure out if you need to be licensed or certified in that subspecialty, and then be able to implement it through our SOP and under the direction of our physicians. It's amazing the skills that we can pick up and the skills that I've picked up along the way. Just everything from kinesiotape to introduction to cupping, Graston, or PRT, things like that, where you get that introduction, you try it in your setting. If it's find it beneficial, then you go seek the certifying requirements.
Yeah. Yep. Completely agree. Huge nerd. I go to, I read, I do online stuff. For a while there, I was addicted to going to courses.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a
Yeah.
financial burden because they're super expensive, but yeah, there's probably like 2 years where I was going to probably three to five courses every year, and just, felt like I needed that next certification. I needed, and
Yep.
I it was helpful, and I obviously learned a lot, but at this point, like, I feel like I've accumulated enough knowledge that now I need to actually practically use it and refine my skills, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I love all that stuff. Super
Yeah, that's
nerd.
awesome. So, you're also, so you're on the Pats Tech committee. That's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
where the podcast started. But you're also on a couple other committees. What else are you doing for the state?
Yeah, just right now, just the technology committee with you, and then the podcast, and then I'm on the convention committee. Right now I am the one of three programming committee. It's like a subcommittee within the convention committee, right? So my
Okay.
responsibility is to, or my committee's responsibility is to find the speakers for the convention. So our annual
Okay.
symposium every year. Our job is we basically send out a call for proposals. I'm sure you all have seen that. So we asked our membership to submit proposals if they want to speak, if they have a topic that they are passionate about and experts in. We asked you to step up and speak at the annual convention. And then whatever spots we don't fill, then it's our responsibility to go out and find people. And we try to find people that, have pertinent information that is timely, right? That is, things that are hot topics in athletic training at the time. And obviously, I'm patting myself on the back here, but I think we put on a pretty good show. I think we usually get pretty good speakers, and the rate, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but the dollar per CEU is very low. So you get a lot of
Yes.
CEUs and you get a
Yes.
lot of EBPs for a very low cost. And then obviously this year it was virtual, and
I thought you guys did a fantastic job. I don't know who put that whole program together, but Melissa and I, my wife, is also an athletic trainer. We were at the table down here in the studio. I think Parker even joined in for a little bit, watching it up on the big screen, and it was a very well run. Like, sometimes these online forums, they're not super smooth. You have the tech issues, you have the moderators that maybe aren't as comfortable doing it virtually. I think you guys absolutely nailed it. It was a fantastic program. I enjoyed the 3 hours.
Thank you.
It was well worth the time.
So obviously a lot of work on the back end to get that all together. I cannot take complete credit for that. Obviously was part of it. Scott Heinrichs, Liz Golick, or Liz Everett. Sorry, that was her maiden name. Um, um, yeah, a lot of Jess Baum. Trying to think if I'm missing any. Becky Mokris for CU. I mean, like, just a ton of people put a lot of work and effort into that to make it happen. And it did. It went flawless, Phil. Like, and again, like, probably 90% of that was luck. We were, you should have been part of the conversations the couple days before. Like, the first time we got on the webinar, like, it was a mess. Like, we had
Mhm.
no clue what we were doing. Like, we're like, oh, how do we do this? Like, we need to make you a panelist, and it was a mess. And then the next
Yeah.
time we did it, it got a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know how it happened, but it went absolutely flawless on the
Well,
day of, which is,
I don't know how much time you guys put into it, but it definitely showed on the live
yeah.
production. I thought it was great. I remember when you guys were talking about doing it virtually. I threw my name in the hat. I was like, all right, hey, this is my idea. Um, Obviously, it didn't go with that, and I couldn't be more happy. Like seeing how you guys were able to do it. Like, I'm sitting there during the second EVP, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if I could have done anywhere close to as good as this. So I how whoever you guys had,
it was
whatever
literally just
whatever
Zoom
you guys did, it
webinar.
was
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. I
Yep.
never knew Zoom could do the webinar. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's an upgrade, and yeah, like, again, a lot of that is the technology. Like, we can't take credit for that. It worked really well, but yeah, like, it
But then
was,
there's all the behind the scenes, getting the questions to
yeah.
from the moderator to the speaker, organizing everything.
Yep.
That's a lot of behind the scenes work, and I don't think a lot of people would recognize that. And
Yeah. No,
and
I
it was
appreciate you
absolutely
saying that.
flawless.
Yep, I agree. I again, like, it was good. I'm glad we did it. I don't want to speak I can't speak out of turn and say this is what we're gonna do, but I would love to see some type of online format, moving forward, just because it did
Yeah,
go so flawless.
I would absolutely love that.
Well, and
I don't know
the
what the
numbers were
numbers were.
unreal.
It would be
So
really cool to see how many people actually logged in
I
and what it
want to
was.
say, I want to say it was at least 600 at one point. It was around there, and our numbers are usually like, I want to say between 2 and 3 live, 200 and
Yeah.
300 live, and sometimes not even that, depending where it's at. So yeah, I would love to see. And again, I'm not promising this. This is my opinion, not the boards or anybody else's. I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, I would love to see some type of webinar format, even if it's maybe, the speaker and we're live streaming it. So you can, I don't know.
See,
I don't know the answer, but
I absolutely love going to live conferences. The interaction between the professionals and the networking that you get to do there can't be beat on any platform, any kind of virtual meetup as it can in person.
Yep.
But there are just sometimes you want to get your CEUs and there's a topic that you really want, but you can't. Whether it's the travel expenses or the timing. I mean, I've got 2 kids going away for weekends, like impossible. I don't think we have in 3 years. So to be able to, that Melissa and I were both able to get it, I think it would be really cool to see a mesh moving forward where, we have the live, but then we're also streaming it, and you can kind of pick and choose which one you want to go do.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I said, I hope that we can incorporate that on some level. Obviously, the webinar is probably easier. The way we did it there would be easier than trying to go both routes, right? Like, live streaming, I don't know what that would actually entail, but if we can do it, I think just from the sheer numbers and financially, it would help. And yeah, again, I got so much good feedback.
I did it once. It's hard when you're presenting in front of a group of people and then you have a camera on you. It's like, okay, who am I presenting to? Am I presenting to the camera? Am I presenting live? And then you're getting like questions from the remote audience. Hey, I didn't see that clip on that helmet. Can you show it to me? So you're showing it up to the camera, but that's not the camera that's displaying on your overhead for the in-house crew. And it's like, it was weird. It was,
and
like,
that's
really
so like
weird.
you would have to have somebody actually manning like
you would have to have a
stream.
production staff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then in-person Pats, we usually have, or not always, but there's most of the time we have 2 different sessions running at the same time.
Yep.
So
it's double the gear, double the bandwidth. Yeah.
So
It's
a lot of stuff there, but
it gets
we
hard,
can figure
and then
it out, or maybe even, I don't know, maybe record them and then
put them up for online education later, like a teachable.com kind of thing.
Yep. We used to record them. We never did anything with it, and then we stopped recording them because we never did anything with it. But that might be something that comes back. I don't know.
Hey, we have the YouTube channel now.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
So, yeah.
You got something else?
I mean, coolest experience as an AT.
Coolest experience. That's
a tough question. Some of the lightning round questions. Those are the fun ones.
I know. Coolest experience. Man, I didn't have anything prepared. Coolest experience. I mean, I'm a sucker. I like to win, Phil. So championships for me, honestly. Centennial Conference championships, making runs into the NCAA. Our men's lacrosse program is usually nationally ranked and very, very good, and love those guys. It's like a family, and they've really adopted me as one of them. And so anytime we're having a successful year, again, yeah, I love to win. I love championships. Like, that's what we're out there for, right? Like, we put so much work in the off season. We train, we do sprint work, we're rehabbing stuff. Like, so to see athletes be successful on the field and win championships is just a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
How about you? What's your coolest experience?
Oh, I'm a location guy. I love traveling. So,
yeah.
I mean, God, Mount Snow Dew Tour, where the weather gets socked in down in the valley, and you're up at, that was Snow Basin. When you're up at the top of the mountain and you see the socked in weather and the sun's rising over the peak, and you get all this golden light first thing in the morning, while you're freezing your butt off trying to get to work with a 50-pound med pack going down a mogul field. Like,
dude, that's so awesome.
It's like, it's stuff like that I live for. Like, that kind of stuff is so cool. That's right up there with, here's a fun one. I went to China with
Oh, cool.
we were in Beijing the year after the Olympics, and we got to tour all the Olympic facilities after the games were done. But the doc and I went out shopping before a practice event, and the hotel gave us business cards with the map for the location and in Chinese characters, Roman characters, and English on how to get back to the hotel. And we just hand it to the taxi driver,
Right.
and they take us home. No big deal, right? You give them the cash, and it's no big deal. This taxi driver, like, we weren't that far away. We knew you just go to the light, make a left, and it's like 2 miles down the road. But she turns right all of a sudden. So Doc and I look at each other and we're like, yeah, this ain't happening. We open the door and roll out of a moving taxi.
Oh, wow. That's so
Um,
funny. What did you think was
yeah,
gonna like? Do you think she was like
I
legit?
wasn't,
Like,
we were not waiting to figure out if she
yeah,
was just
just took a wrong turn
didn't
or like,
understand it or what. It's just like, nope, we're not finding this out. We'll be late for practice. And we were, and yeah,
oh man, that's so funny.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, I was
yeah.
in
So it's,
I was in France and um Spain last year with the men's soccer team. I lucked out. So
okay.
my one of my the head athletic trainer who usually works with men's soccer had another trip already planned, so I lucked into going abroad with them. That was my first time abroad, so that was super cool. I had similar experiences.
Yeah, no, the traveling with the teams overseas is fun because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of planning, a
A lot
lot of
of planning,
stress,
a lot of planning.
but you get to see some really cool things. Like that trip we got to we actually broke away from the athletes, the med staff, and we went and walked the Great Wall of China.
Oh, that's cool.
We got to see the velodrome. I was really into cycling back then. And it was an epic trip. It was 8 days. I don't think I slept much before, and I definitely didn't sleep while I was there. And yeah, it's those experiences
Yeah,
that's
that's super cool.
that's yep.
Yeah, yeah. Traveling's right up there with winning for me. So I like to win, but I do like to travel for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you do for fun, Phil?
Oh, right now,
Besides
geez,
building decks?
yeah, besides building decks, I don't know. I got into aerial photography last year. I got my first drone, got my FAA license, and I've just been flying a lot.
Oh yeah.
I did a special project over the pandemic. I went and video and photoed some of the sites around Pittsburgh while
Yeah.
they were vacant. The stadiums mainly in downtown. Got some cool footage.
That is cool.
Found they call themselves the Corona Choir. It was in Dormont, a suburb of the city of Pittsburgh, and they got together over Zoom and went out on their porches and sang every weekend.
Did you put
So I
that on
did.
social media?
I
I
did their
saw
first
that.
concert
Okay.
and I did their last one. So
Okay.
I've
That
got
is
two
cool.
episodes of that one up, which was a really cool thing to be a part of. Especially with just with everything that's going on, the community just they were like, no, we're gonna be safe and we're gonna still get to know each other. And you had neighbors that lived next to each other for years, never knew each other,
Never knew each other. Yeah.
that they're singing together now,
That's
and
super cool.
it was a cool event. Yeah.
That's awesome. Love that.
Yeah, it brings me back to my old stringer days when I worked for newspapers.
Yeah. No, yeah, I saw some of your stuff on social media during that time, and yeah, I was yeah, totally forgot about that until you just brought it up. But that was super cool. Yeah, you put out some people.
I put out some
If you
stuff.
guys
Yeah,
don't, yeah, if you guys don't follow Phil, please follow Phil because he puts out some pretty good stuff.
yeah. I'm very generic with my names. It's all under my name, Philip Hensler. I guess when I LLC, it was late one night when I decided to do the paperwork and didn't come up with anything cool, so I have to deal with my name.
Dude, that's one of
I
the
am
hardest
not
things,
that full
though,
of
right?
myself. I
Yeah.
promise you that.
Right. It's so hard to come up with a name and that somebody else hasn't already used. And yeah,
Right.
I'm not that creative. So
Now, if
yeah,
I ever
me.
open a studio or a production company, I've got names for that. But
Oh,
like
okay.
for my photography, I never really.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always shot under my name.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
For sure. What else, Phil? Anything else you want to chat about? I thought that
I
was
don't
pretty good.
know. I think we're good on this one.
Yeah. No, that was fun. I hope the audience, the listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this. I think we
Give some feedback what we want to move forward on. This is episode 7. We've got 5 more for this season. We have a few more presenters waiting in the wings. Next month's episode is going to be really fun. And then, what do you want to see? Do you want to see us branching out, talking with other professionals, get out of state? I mean, I've got my NASA undershirt on. It's been that kind of week for me, with Bob and Doug going up to the ISS.
yeah,
So I mean, I would absolutely love to see, what NASA does with athletic trainers and how we train our astronauts and what the plans are for the future.
for
But
sure.
that's me. I kind of want to see what the rest of the states wants, and I know, Adam, you've got some ideas, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah. We're gonna
I think
keep
this could be
rolling,
something
but
cool
if
for season 2.
I was gonna say, if you guys have ideas, topics, speakers, whatever, like let us know so that way we can try to grab them, get them on the show, and we can get you guys some good information. But
Yeah. Or
hopefully
if
you got to
one
know
of our
us.
viewers has a topic that they're passionate about and they want to
Yep.
talk about, get a hold of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Adam, go ahead. What's your email?
Best email would probably be Richmona, RICHMONA @dickinson.edu.
And I'm at philip.hensler@me.com. That's philip.hensler@me.com. I promise you I'm not that full of myself.
I
But yeah,
am so.
so
So
go ahead, get a hold
follow
of
me.
us. Yeah.
Yep. Follow us on social media. Hit us up on we're part of the @GoPats social media as well.
Yep.
So hit us up on there. Let us know what you're thinking. We really enjoyed doing this podcast, but we want to make sure you guys are enjoying it as well and getting some useful knowledge. So let us know.
Yeah. And like and subscribe. Let's get our account up, and maybe we can be able to get to do some more involved episodes and some really, really cool stuff.
Yep.
Who knows?
But until then, this was the Pats podcast. I'm Adam Richmond.
And I'm Philip Hensler.
That was fun.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I think so.